The next step is step 2 in section A. That's bag 1, which is the swash plate assembly. There's a rotating piece of the swash plate and a non-rotating piece of the swash plate, and we need to install balls on each one. The first thing I do before I get started is make sure that the threaded lock that locks the rotating portion of the swash plate onto the bearing has set up. They're installed. It's installed with red Loctite. So I'm going to, as hard as I can, hold and try to unscrew the assembly and see if it unscrews, and this one did. And if it does, I'm going to have to clean that and re-Loctite it. I'm going to take the next one as hard as I can and try to unscrew, and this one did. So these were improperly Loctited. Take them apart. Use cleaner to clean the threads thoroughly. That was the problem. I don't think the threads were cleaned when they were assembled at the factory. Both the inner and outer threads. You want to get these threads clean so the Loctite can set. So place the stack up back on, which is the little monoball and the 2 plastic races. Then I add some red Loctite just to make sure it never comes undone. To the threads. And then we'll just tighten it back up by hand. And then before we finish, we'll double check that and make sure that sets. Tighten it up by hand. Okay, so we'll double check that after we give it some time to set up. So on the rotating portion of the swash plate, we install 3 balls for the pitch links and 1 more ball for the pitch driver. Use a nice tight fitting Phillips head and Loctite everything. Work those down a little bit. That head sets into the countersunk portion of the ball screw and just needs to be worked down. The non-rotating portion of the swash plate gets 4 balls, and each one has a spacer underneath it. So you take the longer screw, put a ball on, and a spacer, and they go on the 4 opposing arms. Make sure you Loctite each one of these posts with the spacers of the countersink head of the work those screws into the countersink so they set all the way. And the last arm, non-opposing arm, is the anti-rotation pin. Take the cap screw with a non-tapered spacer. Snug that up. So the swash plates have set for a little while, and I'm going to do that same test with all my might to try to unscrew them. And they won't unscrew, so the Loctite is set. And then I'm going to look for any slop between this inner race and the black holder. And if there is, I'll use a toothpick with some super glue and wick some super glue in that gap to lock that slop up. There'll be a little slop between the inner and outer bearing, but I'm looking for slop only between the black inner holder and the inner race. And these are snug, so they have none. Now I'll take this one, try to unscrew it, which it won't unscrew, and that's the end of the swash plate assembly.